Good afternoon. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of The Edge on IAC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget that podcast down there, netnewsnetwork.net. It's a great one. You're going to find some fantastic talk show hosts. Forget me. Listen to the other ones. They are absolutely awesome, except for when Chuck and Mary Lynn Bailey are on the air. See them. Chuck and Mary Lynn Bailey, and they're with Alabama Fair Tax. Always glad to have them on the show. And so we need to start taping the shows before we tape the show. I don't know why we're not doing that. They're friends of mine, so we'll just talk about the way it is and that kind of thing. So Alabama Fair Tax, I would love to see it happen. I think it helps everybody. It's universal, because it helps the small businessman, the large businessman, families. It really helps them with those prebates that are out there offered, keeping families together. And I think that's what it's all about. How does it keep families together?
It keeps families together because it allows you to receive your full paycheck. In the state of Alabama, for the Alabama Economic Freedom Act, it'll be anything that has to do with Alabama taxes. You'll still have that dreaded national income tax to pay, but you will have a slight raise in pay, because if you don't have to pay income tax and the corporations don't have to pay income tax, the price of their goods go down a little bit. So overall, if you look at it, you're going to have a pay raise when this bill goes through, because all the tax compliance and all that stuff goes away, and you pay for your tax when you buy a new product or service for your own personal use.
And one other thing too, once Alabama has it, and we're the first in the world to do it, it'll be a model for every other state and the federal government. And one other thing too. The Alabama Economic Freedom Act replaces all sales taxes and income taxes in the state. Mm-hmm. But for a penny more, we could also own our own homes. We would not have to rent them from the state, which I think is a big deal.
Meaning the property tax would be replaced
exactly.
with one penny.
Exactly. One penny.
Let's talk about that for a few minutes, because and by the way, if you have a question, you need to send those. And by the way, folks are registering to win the free book. You need to send a question too. Okay, so make sure you do that too. We want to hear your questions, and I promise you will be listened to. This is one area you are listened. Okay, everybody knows. So go ahead and send that to Donna at donnasedge.com. Donna at donnasedge.com. But come up with some questions. Now, a few of you in the past have had a lot of questions about, I don't really own my own home, do I? If I'm paying property taxes, do I really own it?
No,
because just think, if you didn't pay that property tax, how long you'd be in that house.
Exactly. No matter how much the house is worth.
No matter how much you got in it.
Right. If you don't pay your taxes every year, you are culpable. I mean, you are liable for those taxes, and you can lose your home. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many years you can go without paying it, but it's not a long time, and it depends on if somebody wants it or not. So, if someone says, I'll pay this year's taxes for that house, then the owner is out.
Own it. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
That's horrible. That's horrible. We had some neighbors in Charlotte, North Carolina. We had homeowners association fees. They were making the mortgage payment, but they were not making the homeowners association fees. And I mean, I kind of see why, because it wasn't worth it. They weren't doing anything for us, but we paid it anyway, because I knew they could take your house away. But they didn't pay it, and they lost their home.
Oh, yeah, because that's a contract.
Yeah. Yeah, I personally would never sign one of those. I think I would avoid a neighborhood that had them. I can see the benefit of a homeowners association
if they do what they say they're going to do.
Right.
Exactly,
and they hardly ever do. Yeah, we've got friends that live in a condominium area near here, and they went through that same thing. They had this. The first build was going to be this time, and then the plan was to do the next build and all that. And somewhere along the line, the money got lost, and so they had to bring a new person in, and they had to find somebody to buy the property and go through all that stuff. So I don't think I'd want to go through that.
Yeah, my sister was the president of the homeowners association where she lives in Texas. They no longer live in that house, but she said that was just dealing with it was, you get both sides of it, but I wouldn't want to be involved.
Yeah, so I always dreaded this. We lived on a cul-de-sac. It was a little private circle, and there were only like 6 houses on this circle. And every time one of the neighbors would call and say, "Hey, there she is with a little notepad again." So this girl would be out there with a notepad, just looking at looked like she just graduated out of high school, and she would it gave her some kind of a power to be able to make little notes and then send you a certified letter.
Yeah.
She enjoyed doing that. So
well, that with the property tax, you would begin to own your own house, and that would be quite the thing if you think about it.
Especially older people who own their own home, but don't have a lot of money coming in. They're maybe living just on Social Security, and then that tax. Now, we're fortunate in Alabama that property taxes are low, but low is subjective. That what's low for some people is not low.
They've went up.
Yes, they did.
That was just in the past few years. They have really went up, more than doubled. So what's to keep them from doubling that?
People yelling at their representatives and senators saying, "Don't do that."
You're talking about appraisals, and those are very subjective too. And also, you can live in a neighborhood where homes average, say, $200,000. And somebody comes in and buys property in that same area and build $1 million home, then those $200,000 homes cost more. Or the taxes on those, they go up. Yeah. So that is subjective. But as far as the rate that that is collected for property taxes, that is voted on. And I don't think, and since we've lived here, I don't think anybody's ever voted for a raise in property taxes. I've
never been a fan of that. So let me ask you a question, okay? Because the fair tax just seems too good to be true. I mean, it really does. And I would really love for the state of Alabama to be the first one who adopts this. It takes this in, because I think it would be, our state would be a much better place to live in. You would have people fighting over property to bring their headquarters here to Alabama. This would be just an awesome, awesome thing. I think it would be great for jobs. Just prosperity for the state of Alabama. I can see that. What can we do to get people to listen? Who do we really need to be talking to?
Well, I can tell you, and I think we say this every time we're on your show. You need to talk to your representative. We have been asked, what does polling show? Well, Chuck and I can't afford to poll the state. That costs money, and the money that we spend right now, we hope convinces people, but we're not rich. So, I suppose we could somehow raise the money to do that, but we don't have to, because all you have to do is just call your representative. Have your friends call their representative, and call Nathan Ledbetter and tell him, we want the fair tax.
Call Nathan. I've got Nathan's phone number, and I'm going to post it on here.
Please do.
So,
the person we're talking to that might be the sponsor of the bill, he said, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go statewide with this thing if we think it's going to be a good idea. So that's going to come. And if one of the papers I sent you has a timeline on there that shows you how it could work out, and it'll start in the 2024 legislative session, and you got to pass that bill, the Alabama Economic Freedom Act. You have to pass that. But there's a provision that in the fall, which is the best time to do it, is to pass it in that legislative session, because in the fall you got an election, so you could put that referendum on the election ballot, and the referendum would be everybody in the state of Alabama gets to vote on the bill that gets passed. So that's, in other words, in order to do what we're doing, and that is repealing all income tax and sales tax law in the state of Alabama and replacing it with this bill, you got to have the people vote on it, because the Constitution has to be changed. The income tax and the sales tax are part of the Constitution, so that has to be changed, and the people have to say it's okay. So get the bill passed, and next spring, get the constitutional amendment referendum on the ballot and passed in November, and then January the 1st, we could be under this program of 2025.
So we've still got some time to make that happen.
Oh yeah, and the key is people have got to start calling their representatives and senators and saying, "What are you doing with the Alabama Economic Freedom Act? Why am I not hearing about you doing something with that?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, the last event we had, you guys came, and I thought it was really interesting. And somebody said, "Well, what do I need to do?" And you guys were busy talking to somebody else. And I said, "Well, you need to get in touch with your representatives." And this lady said, "Well, they're so busy."
No, they work for us.
You're kidding me. They're sitting around most of the time with their feet propped up on the desk. Call them.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, they need to hear from you. I mean, we hire them. It's not the other way around. Some people seem to be a little intimidated to call people.
But not only, the thing about it is, when you call your representative, you probably won't speak to whoever your representative is. You'll speak to one of their staff. But their staff has to keep track of how many people called and what they call about. So it takes 5 minutes.
And you can request that they send you a notice somehow or other that your representative or senator got that message.
That's right. And if you email, they have to respond to you. So
is email better than sending a letter and calling?
Do all of them.
Just do all of them.
Do email. Put a stamp on an envelope and send it in. I mean, any way you can do it. Now, again, this takes part of your time to do it, and it takes effort. But don't count on other people doing it, because they're not. And we're not hearing that, and we need to. If
you don't do it, it won't get done.
Exactly. If you don't demand it, you're not going to get it. But if they hear, that the polling is going for, if over 50% of the people in Alabama want it, then they'll start pricking up their ears. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, they will. And I'll tell you something. There's something about, and I've done this for years. I've been in marketing for a really long time. And your clients or potential clients are more likely to open a letter if you write the name and the address. Use your ink pen and write it instead of typing it.
Yeah.
Because it just looks more personal.
Yeah.
And if you don't
open it up,
if you don't know who your representative is, you can go to a website called contactmypolitician.com. That's right, isn't it?
Probably not.
I'll get it to you.
All you gotta do is look right here.
Okay.
And see.
Okay. Yeah, we do have it written down. We have on our website. We have Understanding the Alabama Economic Freedom Act, and it's a one-page, double-sided, because on the back it has the prebate, but at the bottom of that it says, "It is contactmypolitician.com." That's right, .com, and you put your information in there, your address. And they will even do the emailing for you. So, and then I have gotten emails back saying, was there a response to your email? So they actually follow up on that. But they will tell you who represents you from dog catcher on up to Joe Biden.
And it's a free service.
And it is free. Mm-hmm. And it's not, you're not putting yourself out for emails or spam or anything like that, because I've never gotten anything from them other than when I send an email and they ask if I got a response.
Well, if you are tired of government waste, we're going to have to go into a commercial break. We're a little bit behind. But if you are fed up with it and the way money is spent in Montgomery and in Washington or anywhere else, you are listening to us right now, go ahead and do it. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back in just a minute. Everybody hang in there. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Let Let Rhonda at Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC take the burden off you for all your tax needs. I know because Rhonda has been taking care of my business since 2013. I feel Rhonda works for me because she knows the direct questions to ask to better benefit my unique business in order for me to get back the biggest refund possible. Rhonda is an ongoing student, and she knows tax laws are in a constant change every year. Call 256-281-9903 for an appointment to take the dread out of getting your taxes done. Rhonda is located at 11968 U.S. Highway 431 in Boaz. Again, that number is 256-281-9903. And let Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC champion your personal and business taxes.
Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community
Okay,
College.
we are back. My name is Donna, and I am your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, Abundance Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire, the podcast, netsnewsnetwork.net. You know, you can also find us on our website, icradio.media. IC stands for In Christ Radio.media. Ice cream, sometimes it stands for that. Here lately it has. Been a little bit warm outside. But anyway, we're talking with Chuck and Marilyn Bailey, and they are with Alabama Fair Tax. And so we've been talking about how to get in contact with your elected officials. And it's really important you do that. You know something, if I were elected and for any kind of, if I'm dog catcher and I never hear anything from anybody, I'm going to wonder, do they even like me? Even if it's bad news, if somebody contacts me, I'm going to, okay, all right, I'll respond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, it just came to mind that when we first moved here, we weren't involved at all in anything. And then we started going to monthly Republican meetings. It's just because they, you know, more or less think like we do to a degree. And then we got to thinking, well, you know, we need to start talking to these guys. And so back and forth occasionally say, hey, Joe, what do you think about this? And why aren't you guys doing something about it down there in Montgomery? And then it got to the point to where I think Mary Lynn told you an anecdote where one of the guys called her up and was asking her about something. So we went from not being involved to the guys are calling us up now for advice.
Yeah, actually, this is a funny story because it was it was a former politician who most people in the area know, but we were at a meeting and it was in a Holiday Inn bar. It was one of those areas, and we were sitting at one of those high tables, and he came over and said, "Why aren't you doing something about the income tax?" I said, "We've been talking to you for 3 years. We've been trying to get you to do something about it." And he said he did his income tax. He had I guess a military pension and a state pension, and he did his income tax.
He also was a police officer.
Yes. Well, anyway, he had a couple of pensions, and he did his daughter's income tax also. And he said she and her husband together make just
about a third of what he
about a third of what he brought in every year. And he said they pay twice as much in taxes, and that is another facet of the income tax in Alabama. Federal pensions, state pensions, and Social Security I always forget the name of it. It's defined benefit pensions are not taxed. So you can be living off of your pensions and not pay any income tax to the state.
Actually bringing in more than you when you were working.
But that means that young people who are just starting out are paying the taxes. They're paying for all of us. And when you're at the point of your life, when you have the least amount of money, you're paying more in taxes than you will when you're older.
And see, that's the best part about the fair tax and the Alabama Economic Freedom Act is we don't care how much money you make.
Right.
You have wealth. You spend your wealth. You spend as much wealth as you want to spend, and you determine by spending that wealth how much you're paying in taxes. You can't do that now because you have no idea how much tax is embedded in everything you buy.
And Chuck and I have to believe in this because we aren't. We have pensions that we are that are funding our retirement. We're going to be paying more in taxes probably with the because well, I don't know. It depends on how you spend your money.
More.
But the fact is that we will be along with everyone else who buys a stick of gum to a new whatever
new car.
They'll all be funding the state, and it will be at a lower cost than what we're paying right now. So.
Well, how will this pay down the national debt? Now, Joe Biden seems to think it's went down. The national debt has went down.
Yes,
I don't know where he's getting that info at, but
I heard him say he had cut the national debt in half.
What?
Yes.
No, he hasn't.
Well,
in his mind, he had cut it.
Yeah, I think what he was trying to say is he had cut the deficit, but he hadn't even cut that in half. So, but anyway, and then he was saying he had cut $6 billion and $6 million, so 600 million and 600 billion. The money is so big. It's just like a billion here and a billion there, and sometimes you're spending real money.
You know what people have told me? People have said, "Why do you care about the national debt?" I care for the future of my family.
Right.
I
don't want them being in slavery to have to pay for a bunch of nonsense that was shouldn't have been spent.
Well, we're actually facing that because the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and now South Africa, are trying to get a bundle of to replace the dollar as the world's currency. And when that happens, dollars from all over the world are going to come back to the United States, and we're going to be using wheelbarrows of cash to pay for things. And so
because they print those dollars up for about 17 cents a piece and send them off to foreign countries, and that's traded as $100.
Yeah, and there's nothing.
When they all come back, we're going to have a whole bunch of 17-cent dollars.
$100 bills. Those
$100 bills
cost 17 cents to make.
17 cents,
and they're just printing them like mad, and they're worth nothing. And because because the dollar is the world's currency, we've been able to get away with that since 1971. But that's not going to happen anymore. Let's
get into the national thing. The way you fix it is you bring back to the United States all the things that made us great, and that would be manufacturing mainly. And the way to do that is to untax manufacturing. And the only way to do that that's in the Congress right now is to pass the fair tax, because it untaxes manufacturing. And what that's going to do is it'll bring all those car companies and refrigerator companies and all those companies, Caterpillar, all those people will come back to the United States, because if you have 0% corporate tax, there's no reason for them to move all that stuff out of the country, because then this would be the tax haven of the world, not some of those other places. And what that's going to do is it's going to make products and services cost less, and it's going to bring headquarters even of foreign countries into the United States. And this place is going to grow leaps and bounds, and you won't have to worry about a deficit, because the tax money will be rolling in, even at the low rate for the fair tax.
And people can be free. And you know what? When you're free, you're in a much better mood.
Exactly.
I mean, you really are. And
You'll be
so
a happier
they can be
country.
free with their businesses. They can be free with their homes. I mean, you can feel some freedom. There's something about the United States. Freedom is why people come to this country. They have come with absolutely nothing but the clothes on their backs, because they wanted freedom.
Yet
And that needs to still be.
Yeah, there's hardly any kind of rush to get to the southern border to get out of the United States. It's the other direction.
Well, yeah, it's. I am concerned about what's going on economically with this country, and I think we're going to find out really a lot sooner than we want to.
I think so
What's
too.
gonna happen.
And I mean, I'm glad that I got to live during a time when, you could leave your doors open and unlocked. My parents used to actually leave their keys in the car.
Yeah.
When I was young, we lived in a small town, and at 6 years old, I would walk out the front door and walk downtown. I'd go to the dime store. I'd go to the movie. And oftentimes my mother didn't even know where I was, but she was okay with that, because, what was going to happen. And, when our children were young like that, I was pretty careful about, what they were doing. And it's getting even worse now.
By the way, that was uphill both ways.
Yeah, it was. Actually, I walked in the snow and the rain. And
we used to get a rowboat and just, it rained so much. We just did. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show. Less than a minute left. What would you like to say real quick before we go?
Contact your politician and let them know you want the fair tax. Contact them at both the state and the federal level. We need to let. We currently have a co-sponsor for the fair tax with Dale Strong. We have 3 in the state.
Dale Strong, Gary Palmer, and Barry Moore.
Barry Moore, but we have 7 representatives, so we don't even have half yet. Our co-sponsors, we need for them to be.
And we can be free. We just have to stick together.
Yeah.
And this is, as my opinion, this is the plan to do it.
Exactly.
Freedom is not free. You've got to fight for it.
And just do a little work.
And those guys need their minds changed about the fair tax. They need to figure out that we're on to them using lobbyists and all that to do their bills and all that.
Let's put lobbyists out of business, by the way.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Well, that's not going to happen, but it will be a.
But we can wound them a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be wound them. Thank you guys for being on the show. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, Donna.
And it's always a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much for watching The Edge on IC Radio. I'm your talk show host, Donna, and you can find us podcast netsnewsnetwork.net. I almost said something else. I got it though. But thank you so much for watching on television as well. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.